Hello guys, and if you are looking for a new travel destination, I definitely do not recommend Crimea this summer because our beautiful peninsula goes through a complex but extremely important process of deoccupation. And when it returns back home to Ukraine, you are definitely welcome to come and discover its beautiful nature, culture, and cuisine. Unfortunately, during this 10 years of Russian, very temporary occupation, the beautiful peninsula was turned into a military base packed with the missile systems, air defense systems, ammunition, and so on and so forth. All those people who now travel to Crimea to sunbathe definitely make a very big mistake because Russians are known to locate their missile systems, for example, too close to civilian objects, like a military airfield in Belbek, 5-6 kilometers away from a popular beach. Today there were explosions near Sevastopol and Belbek, lots of videos online where people feel sorry they've bought some property in Crimea. Yes, you never buy property on the territory of the annexed peninsula that is going to return back home to Ukraine. This once again reminds us that every illegal step, acceptance, or brutal violation of international law is always a brutal mistake. So let me tell you more about the events in Crimea. And yes, we can officially say that now Peninsula is one of the biggest battlefields. And also, I'm convinced Crimea will be the first territory to return back to Ukraine. My name is Anna and I vlog daily from Ukraine since the start of the brutal Russian invasion. So if you're new to the channel, you support Ukraine, please subscribe and help us fight against Russian propaganda and fake news. And my longtime friends, check your subscription status and hit notification button. All Russian and Ukrainian media report there were a series of explosions in Crimea. Russians traditionally say this was their air defense working, but in reality there are lots of videos shared by people now in Crimea with huge smoke and sound of explosions and lots of bad language. Russians traditionally use too many bad words in even their everyday communication, but now they officially have all the reasons to use that bad language because they literally understand what a great mistake they have made when moving to Crimea as invaders and occupants, buying real estate there, or simply choosing the peninsula as their resort destination for this summer. This summer will definitely be very hot as Crimea is going through an important process of deoccupation. Today, there were explosions near Sevastopol and Belbek, and you can all recognize these names because Sevastopol is the so-called capital of the Russian Black Sea Navy. It was because many months ago we have already destroyed the headquarters of the Russian Black Sea Navy there, and now we are cleaning up the remains of the infrastructure. And Belbek is a military airfield. Of course, it is not the good place to have all this rotting Russian military missile systems, aircraft, and so on, because Crimea has a perfect resort potential. It was actually used like that for centuries, but unfortunately, at the moment, Russia uses it as a huge military logistics hub. And when Crimea returns back to Ukraine and we see there are lots of symptoms, this will happen very soon, Russia will lose a lot, and I believe it will be very difficult for them to continue war in general, because right now most of the supplies that they get are actually from Crimea. Remember to subscribe to witness this beautiful return of Crimea to Ukraine together on the channel. This is the easiest way to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine and help us spread more information. So, We know that almost every day there are explosions and destructions of military objects in Crimea. Unfortunately, there are reports of partisans movements like Atash in Crimea, where they demonstrate how Russian intentionally put their missile systems like Zerka really close or even above the beach. You know, Crimea has beautiful mountains and hills really close to the sea, and you can literally see an air defense system or a missile system hanging on a cliff and a beach below this cliff, which is crazy. And honestly, I believe that no sane person, even like Russian person, will choose to spend summer in Crimea, because you can actually get burnt. And I don't mean sunburned. I hope you will get my sarcasm, but I have all the right to use it, because when you invade the country, you become an enemy and you have to be prepared for punishment. It should have been like that in 2014, and I think, like, I do not evaluate modern presidents or candidates for a president in the USA, but I do think that the reaction and actions of President Obama were wrong in 2014. I'm not sure, it seems like he even received a Nobel Peace Prize, and I think it's wrong. It is wrong, because 2014 was actually a perfect time to prevent all of that, and taking into account heavy demilitarization of Ukraine together with Russia and lots of our friends, now allies, taking into account Budapest Memorandum, and even taking into account not Ukraine but all the international obligations that we all share if we are a part of the democratic world, Russia should have been stopped then. It would be much easier to punish them and to throw them away from the peninsula. You know, it has a very limited connection to the mainland Ukraine. It would be really easy to fight with them. And Russia was not that confident back in 2014. At first, they pretended these are green peoples, not real Russian soldiers. But we've lost that chance, and it tells us that bullies grow hungry, grow more aggressive when they see they are allowed to do it. So please, don't repeat these mistakes. We Ukrainians won't, but don't push us to repeat these mistakes when looking for ceasefire, appeasement, any negotiations with Putin as a president and Russia as a legitimate part of the negotiations process. This is not right. This will lead to more invasions, to more destructions, and to more troubles, and not only in Ukraine. I'm sure those people who follow updates, who are subscribed, you know, I'm not exaggerating. So right now, please do not choose Crimea as your destination. I'm sure more and more explosions will happen on their military objects. Unfortunately, there are too many of them now on the peninsula. With F-16s finally arriving to Ukraine, I'm sure we will see the Kerch Bridge destroyed, and this will actually be the start of the end of Russian war, because they desperately need Crimea for the majority of their logistics operations, and soon they will lose this opportunity. I know there are waves of Russian people who moved to Crimea illegally, actually occupied the flats and the houses of people who had to flee Crimea back in 2014 or 2015, because many of them had troubles with Russia. It's obvious. Many were in the captivity. Even the position of Crimean Tatars, indigenous people of Crimea Peninsula, is really bad. So many had to leave, and Russians, just like classical looters, came and occupied these flats and places, and now they realize they have to run. And please run. This is my advice to all Russian soldiers, to all people, Russian people who are illegally in Ukraine. Run. Run, so that we will not see your heartbroken photos, and sensitive people won't have to react to that. You are illegally on the territory of Ukraine. You have caused too many trouble to Ukrainian people. This is a tragedy of many generations of people, especially including Crimean Tatars, who were not once sent out exiled from their own territory, first by the communist regime and now the Putin's regime. And when Crimea is back to Ukraine, this will be one of the most beautiful, rich and beautiful lands, and I'm sure you will love it here. So let's hope that the next summer in Crimea will be with blue and yellow flags and beautiful atmosphere, I don't know, cocktails, wine. Good wine is in Crimea because its climate is very similar to the south of France. And to know more about Ukraine, join me on Instagram, X, Threads. Check our merch shop with lots of really good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and all the links to my social media and to our merch shop are in the description of this video. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. And let me know, would you like a video about Belarus? Because I live in a region that borders with Belarus. Belarus started saying some crazy things recently. So let me know in the comments below, would you like a video on that? And I know united we stand, and I'm very grateful for that. Slava Ukraini!